As a teacher, how common is it for students to bribe you? Early in my career, I had a number of students from Korea and Japan who would offer me gifts at the end of the term, bags of candy or little doodads. I later learned this was a common practice in many non-Western countries, so I had to explain to them that it was considered inappropriate in the US. Other than that, I've never had a student try to bribe me. However, when my wife was working as a biology tutor and graduate assistant back when she was starting her PhD, she had a student who was failing the class. The student's father called her and asked, "What can I do to get you to help my son with his homework?" She said something like, "Oh, I'm already helping him. We meet to go over the homework he's working on twice a week." The father responded, "That's very nice. Can I pay you something to help my son with his homework?" She responded, "You don't understand. I'm paid by the university as a tutor. There's no additional charge for my help beyond the normal tuition." The father repeated more earnestly, "Ah, that's nice. Is there something I can give you to help my son with his homework?" She kept re-explaining that she was already helping him with his homework, and he kept trying to rephrase the question, until he grew frustrated and hung up. It wasn't until a few months later she realized that the father was trying to bribe her into doing her son's homework for him or giving him a passing grade. However, my wife was simply too naive to pick up on what he trying to suggest. So, that's the only case I know of personally in which a teacher was offered a bribe. I'm sure the parent was terribly frustrated by her inability to read between the lines. My pupils did ask me if I was bribable, and I did say that yes, to the tune of the equivalent of $10,000, they could advance one grade. At the time, the sum was comparable to my net pay for the entire term. The message was, of course, that while I would probably have done it, had any of them actually possessed the money, it was a lot easier for them to just apply themselves diligently for the entire term. In general, I do believe that many teachers can be bribed to give an undeservedly high grade, at the right price, which is different depending on the teacher's circumstances. And in most cases, that price is far too high to be a worthwhile use of the student's funds. You're not getting anywhere offering less than a month's salary, unless the teacher owes money to people who are their own collection agency. But it will be almost impossible to bribe a teacher to give someone else an undeservedly low grade, because that's doing actual harm to someone. I wasn't a teacher, but rather a TA in high school for the AP US history class. As such, I had access to a lot of different course materials that could have been helpful, and since I'm a huge history nerd myself, I helped the teacher write the final after class one week. And then a student came in and saw that we were writing the final. That night, she Snapchat friend requested me. I probably had 15 or 20 offers for anything and everything within the week. Guys offering me beer and weed and cash, trips out on their parents' boat, girls offering to send me all sorts of images, all of which would have been illegal, given that I was 18 and they were all 17, dates and other extracurricular activities. See, the teacher didn't tell any of the students, but he curved the class 10% at the end of the semester. But that meant that there were a lot of students who were at a D who would be passing the course, almost all the guys, and even more students who had never gotten anything below a B who currently had one, almost all girls. I didn't take any of them up on it, for obvious moral and legal reasons, but also because I felt bad that they didn't know their grades were going to be curved upwards. Now, my great bribe offer to my AP Calc professor was that we'd all decorate his house for Christmas for him in exchange for no fall semester final. He countered, saying that we still had to do the final, but we could all skip one question, and we had to decorate a picture of his house so he could know what to do, but no students would leave campus. That worked out well for both parties, I think. I have been teaching high school for 32 years, and can only think of 2 or 3 times when a student suggested or hinted at the idea of bribing me. Only once, and this was many years ago, did a student actually offer me a bribe. I used to sometimes joke about bribes in my classes. My usual line was, "I will gladly accept your bribes, but they will not change your grade," and most of the students would chuckle a little. After one of those classes, a student, who was doing very poorly, came up to me and said, "So, you said you'd take a bribe. How much?" I repeated my line. He countered with, "So, is $50 enough?" I repeated, emphasizing the second part, "I will gladly accept your bribe, but IT will not change your grade." His response, "How about $75? I told him, "Let me say this again, and listen carefully. I will gladly accept your bribe, but IT will not change your grade." He looked at me, and I could see him thinking it through. After a pause, he finally said, "Oh, I get it. Never mind." He did not pass that class.